Your new life, the life you dream about, your dream life, is going to cost you your old life. That's the truth everyone needs to know about transformation. True growth isn't just about adding things, new habits, new relationships, new opportunities. It's also about making space for those things by being willing to let go of what's no longer serving you. And here's the thing, letting go isn't easy. It's messy. It's vulnerable. It's uncomfortable. It forces us to deal with the parts of ourselves that honestly we'd rather not deal with. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom, alignment, a life that feels true to who you are and who you're becoming. Today, I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process of letting go. By the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap for not only letting go, but stepping fully into the life you were always meant to live. My therapist told me this: before you can let go of anything, you have to name what you're holding on to. You have to give it a name. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest parts of the process. And the reason for that is it forces us to get honest with ourselves about what's no longer working. It might be a habit, like endlessly scrolling through social media instead of working on your goals. It might be a relationship that feels more draining than life-giving. It might be a belief system that you have, like constantly telling yourself you're not good enough and being hard on yourself all the time. Here's the thing. You cannot release what you refuse to name. Acknowledgement is the first step toward change. It's not about judgment or blame, because you're probably already being too hard on yourself in the first place. It's about clarity, because until you identify what's holding you back, it will continue to hold power over you. A lot of people skip this because it's uncomfortable. Naming what's not working can feel like admitting that you're a failure or admitting that you've been defeated. And let's be honest, there is a lot of shame wrapped up in letting go. Maybe you've invested years into a career and now you realize it's no longer aligned with your values. Maybe you've poured your heart into a relationship and then it's no longer working. Maybe you've built an identity around being, the achiever, the good girl, the dependable one, the strong one. And now you realize that you're losing a piece of yourself by holding on to that identity. So instead of facing the discomfort, we try to bring logic into it. We try to rationalize. We try to make excuses and tell ourselves that, it's fine. It's fine. A lot of people have lives that they don't love. A lot of people hold on to things that's no longer serving them. So by making excuses, we cling to the familiar because it feels safer than the unknown. It's difficult to do things you've never done before. But here's the hard truth. Holding on to something that's no longer serving you is not safety. It's self-sabotage. And I want you to hear me really clearly on this. Every moment you spend holding on to something that is no longer working is a moment that you're stealing from the life that you want to create. When I was going through a major life transition, I feel like I'm always going through a major life transition because I've been through a transition stage in my life now for the past 5 years, I feel like. Throughout this journey, I realized that I was holding on to an identity that didn't fit me anymore. I had spent years, you guys, years being the overachiever. You know the type, always on, always striving, always looking like I had it all together, just hustling through life. But the truth was, I was exhausted. Beneath the surface, I felt disconnected from myself, from my relationships, from the life that I really wanted. It wasn't until I sat down and got brutally honest with myself, I realized that my fear of letting go of the identity, the perfectionism, my need to control everything, my fear of just not wanting to lose control was standing in my way. And being able to name it, right? Giving it a name was so helpful. Now, naming those things didn't fix them overnight, but it gave me a starting point. It allowed me to see very clearly where I needed to create change. And this is so powerful because there's so much content on the internet and there are so many things about ourselves that we want to change, but not knowing where to start can be the reason why you haven't started. When you give it a name, when you identify specifically what's currently not working, it gives you a starting point. I know in my case, not only did giving it a name give me a place to start my journey, it gave me the permission to let go of the version of myself that was attached to that thing. The version of myself that was more focused on being perfect than being whole. So here's a simple exercise to try. Grab a piece of paper and divide it into 3 columns. You want to have habits, relationships, and beliefs. Under habits, I want you to write down the things that you do regularly that leaves you feeling drained, overwhelmed, and out of alignment. Under relationships, I want you to list the connections in your life, the people in your life that feel heavy, or the connections that feel one-sided. And under beliefs, I want you to write the narratives that play on repeat in your mind, like I'm not good enough, or if I fail, people will leave me. The goal isn't to fix everything like all at once. It's to bring awareness to what's holding you back. And let me tell you, there is something powerful about seeing it all laid out in front of you. It's like shining a light into a dark corner. And that's honestly what shadow work really is. It's shining a light on the things that's holding you back. It's putting your focus on the things that's no longer working in your life, because that's how you start to fix it. And when you do that, the things that used to feel overwhelming no longer seem impossible to address. So when you get honest about what's holding you back, you start to see the patterns that have been shaping your life. You realize that, some of the things you've been carrying, whether it's the need to please everyone, the fear of failure, or the belief that you have to do it all, are not serving you anymore. For me, this realization was a wake up call. Once I acknowledged that my perfectionism was definitely holding me back, I started to shift. I gave myself permission to make mistakes, to ask for help, to show up as I was instead of trying to be everything to everyone. And let me tell you, there is so much freedom in that. There's freedom in saying that I don't have to carry this anymore and I don't have to be that person anymore. There is freedom to detaching yourself from the version of yourself that's no longer serving you. Okay, a good book for this is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. I love this book. It really helped me to detach myself, the old version. It really helped me to realize that, oh my God, like I don't have to be the same person my whole life. I can change. I can literally become a whole completely different human being if I really wanted to. So I love that book for that. Okay, now just naming what's holding you back is not enough. To truly create change, lasting change, you also need to take the next step. The second step in creating real change is about recognizing the stories that you're telling yourself. These stories run in the background of our mind like a playlist that we didn't even realize was on repeat. We all have them, narratives about who we are, what we're capable of and what we deserve. But here's the thing, not all of those stories are true. In fact, many of them are downright destructive, and many of them don't belong to you. A lot of us are just repeating things that we've heard in our past. They can sound like, I'm not smart enough to start over, or if I try and fail, people will see me as a fraud. All of those thoughts, you guys, came in my head when I was starting this YouTube channel. The only reason why I'm able to stand in front of you today and be talking in front of this camera is because I started telling myself a different story. Because I realized that my fear of being judged, my fear of being seen, all of those fears were not facts. They were fears that were disguised as truth. They were fears that looked like truth, but weren't. And until you name and challenge those stories, they will keep sabotaging your growth and holding you back from the life that you want. This step is incredibly powerful, but it's also one of the hardest, which is why most people don't do it. The stories we carry feel so deeply ingrained that they start to feel like our identity. If you've been telling yourself for years that you weren't good at relationships or that you always mess things up, it doesn't feel like a story. It feels like who you are. And let's face it, challenging those stories feel terrifying because they've been with us for so long, they feel safe, even when they're keeping us small. It's easier to stay in the comfort of those familiar narratives than to face the vulnerability of rewriting them. But here's what I've learned. The stories you carry with you are not always your truth. They're just the stories you've been telling yourself. And the beautiful thing about stories is that they can be rewritten. When I realized that I was living a story of, I have to be perfect to be loved, I feel like that story I told myself had shaped everything. It shaped how I worked, how I showed up in relationships, how I judged myself. It was exhausting, but it felt normal because it had been my story for so long. Rewriting that story wasn't easy. It required me to pause every time I felt the urge to overachieve or prove my worth and ask myself, what's the story I'm believing right now? And then I had to replace it with a new one. Instead of telling myself that I have to be perfect to be loved, I began to tell myself, I'm worthy just as I am. I read this book called Worthy as well, which defined the word worthy to me as just being good enough just as you are, about not needing anything to add to how good you are. At first, it felt weird. It felt like I was saying something that couldn't possibly be true or that I didn't believe was true. But over time, that new story started to feel even more real than the old one ever did. Now it's the easiest thing for me to remind myself that I'm worthy. It's the easiest thing for me to remind myself that I don't need to prove my worth to nobody, right? It's the easiest thing for me to do now because I've been repeating it so many times in my head, right? The art of repetition is so important for this. I recommend doing affirmations. Like just go on YouTube and Google affirmations for whatever it is that you want to change, whatever new story that you want to tell yourself. Look for affirmations on YouTube and just like go to sleep with that just playing in the background. That's how you're going to rewire your subconscious mind. So for example, let's say you're someone who keeps telling yourself that you're insecure and you want to change that story to you being confident. So go on YouTube and Google affirmations about confidence, and the more you listen to that like over and over and over again, your mind is going to start to believe that the story about confidence more than the story about you being insecure. Does that make sense? If you have any questions on this, let me know down below. This is such a powerful thing to do, and I would love to help you guys. It changed how I showed up in my life. I stopped striving for perfection as much and started allowing myself to be human. I started building relationships where I could show up authentically without the need to perform or to prove anything. And that shift was truly life-changing. Now, letting go of old stories isn't just about feeling better. It's about creating the life that you want. Your stories shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. If you're carrying the story, I'm not good enough, you'll act in ways that reinforce that belief. You'll shrink, you'll hold yourself back, and you will settle for less than you deserve. But when you rewrite that story, when you start telling yourself that you are capable, that you are worthy, that you are enough, everything changes. You show up differently. You start taking risks. You start setting boundaries. You start going after what you really want. Letting go of old stories is the key to stepping into your power. So right now, I want to invite you to take a moment and think about the stories that you're carrying. What's the narrative playing in your mind when you feel stuck or unworthy? What's the story that you turn to when you're afraid to take a risk or step into something new? Write it down. Then ask yourself, is this story helping me or is it holding me back? If it's holding you back, it's time to let it go. Remember, you really are the author of your own life. You have the power to rewrite your story and create a narrative that empowers you instead of limiting you. Letting go of old stories is freeing, but it's not the end of the journey. To truly step into your new life, you also need to create space for what's next. That's what step number 3 is all about. Now, letting go isn't just about releasing, it's about replacing. If you clear out the old, but don't intentionally decide what to bring in, you leave an empty space that will inevitably fill itself. That's just how we're wired. Now, the question is, will you fill it back with more of the same patterns, same habits, same distractions, or will you choose to fill it with things that align with who you're becoming? Step 3 is about getting intentional. It's about deciding what it is that you want to invite into your new life and making room for it. Think of it like taking care of a garden. You don't just pull out the weeds and then walk away. You plant new seeds, you water them, you nurture them so that something beautiful can grow. This step is so often overlooked because letting go feels like enough. You've done the hard work of releasing and letting go of the old stories. So now you think you're good now, right? But here's the thing. When you create space in your life, whether it's physical space, emotional space, mental space, that space will feel itself, whether you're intentional about it or not. That's just how we naturally are. If you don't actively choose what to bring in, you'll fall back into the old patterns again, the same distractions again, the same negativity, the same habits that you work so hard to let go of. They will all find their way back in. It's like clearing out a cluttered closet, for example, and thinking, you'll just leave it empty. But then a few months later, it's full of the same junk you thought you got rid of. Creating space is not just about clearing, it's about curating. It's about asking, what fits the life I'm trying to build? What feels good? What reflects who I am now? It's about being intentional about what you want to fill it back in with. When I was rebuilding my life after a really hard season, I realized that I had done a great job of letting go. I had cleared out the toxic relationships, the perfectionist habits, the overwhelming obligations that just didn't align with who I wanted to be anymore. But you know what? I still felt stuck. And the reason for that is I didn't give myself the time to ask myself what I wanted to fill that space with. So I started small. I asked myself, what do I want more of in my life? For me, the answer was connection and creativity. I wanted to feel more connected to the people who mattered to me and more creative in my everyday life. So I joined a women group, something I had always wanted to do but never made time for. I started scheduling dates with my closest friends, making some more time to call them, carving out intentional time for deeper conversations. Those small changes didn't just fill the space, they transformed it. My life began to feel more aligned, more meaningful, more like me. And it all started with a simple act of asking, what do I want more of? And making space for those things. I decided to start this YouTube channel, which is a place where I can be creative and a place that is literally all about connection, women connecting, and in a way creating a woman mastermind. So here's how you can start creating space for what you really want. 1, you have to identify what you want more of. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel more of in my life? What lights me up? What aligns with who I'm becoming? Maybe it's peace, maybe it's confidence or joy, maybe it's adventure or connection like me or creativity. Write it down. There's something so powerful about putting your intentions on paper. It makes them real. Write down 3 things that you want more of in your life. The next step is to create habits that support those things. For each of the things you want more of, think about one habit, one practice, one action that could help you create it. Something you can also do is maybe think about a challenge that can help you create it. For example, this year I decided to start the 75 soft challenge because I wanted not just more creativity, but also more consistency in my life. So I decided to create a Facebook page so that all of you guys can connect with me and also created a whole video asking you guys to join me on it. So that by having connection, so in a way, this challenge is helping me to have connection and the consistency that I want. If you want more peace in your life, maybe it's meditating for 5 minutes in the morning. If you want more connection, maybe it's reaching out to a friend once a week. If you want more creativity, maybe you're setting aside 30 minutes a day to work on a passion project. The next step is to make space in your schedule. Creating space isn't just about what you want. It's about making time for it. Look at your schedule and ask yourself, what can I let go of to make room for what matters most? So for example, I had to let go of watching so much Netflix because instead decided to use my free time to create this YouTube channel because it was aligned with who I wanted to be and what I wanted to fill that space with. Now, creating space for what you want is essential because it's not enough to simply remove the things that don't serve you. If you don't fill that space with intention, you will definitely slip back into old patterns. Because think about it. How many times have you said, I'm going to stop doing this, but didn't replace it with a new habit or a new practice? It's like trying to quit a bad habit without creating a new one to take its place. The old habit comes back because it's easier than sitting with the emptiness. When you intentionally fill the space with what aligns with your values and your goals, you create momentum. You build a life that feels purposeful and aligned, not by accident, but by design. I want to invite you to take a moment to think about the space that you've created in your life. Maybe you've let go of a toxic relationship or cleared some time in your schedule. Maybe you've started releasing old stories or habits that no longer fit. Now ask yourself, what do you want to fill that space with? What do you want more of in your life? This is your chance to be intentional. Don't let the space fill itself with distractions and old patterns. Instead, choose to fill it with things that light you up, that align with who you are, that reflects the life that you're building. Now, creating space for what you want is powerful, but it's not the final step. To truly embrace transformation, you need to learn to trust the process. That's what step 4 is all about. Now, here's the hardest part about transformation. Letting go doesn't come with instant results. You don't release the old and wake up the next morning with everything perfectly aligned. There's a gap. There's a space between the life you let go of and the one that's coming into being. But let me tell you, that gap can feel disorienting. You release what's no longer working, but you haven't yet landed on what will take its place. That's where step 4 comes in. Trusting the process. It's about creating. It's about believing that the space you're creating isn't empty. It's making room for something better, even if you can't see it yet. It's about being delusional. This step is about leaning into the unknown, even when it feels messy. It's about holding onto the hope that what's on the other side of this discomfort is worth every moment of uncertainty. So here's why this step is so hard for most of us. We're wired for certainty. Our brains crave it. We want to know that our effort will pay off. We want to know that the risk that we're taking will lead to the results that we want. But here's the thing. Growth does not happen in certainty. It happens in the unknown. That gap, the one between releasing the old and receiving the new, that's where transformation takes root. It's where you learn to trust yourself, to sit with vulnerability, to believe in the unfolding of something that you can't yet see. But let's be real. Sitting in that space is scary. It's uncomfortable. It makes you question everything. Like, did I make a mistake by letting go? Or will this ever get better? Or should I go back to what's familiar? And because it feels so uncomfortable, most people don't stay there long enough to see the transformation come through. They run back to old patterns, old habits, old relationships, looking for certainty. Trusting the process means choosing courage over comfort. It means staying in the discomfort long enough to let the new take shape. I've had so many moments in my life where I felt like I didn't know what was going on. Moments where I had let go of the old, like a toxic relationship, a perfectionist habit, even a safe but unfulfilling job, but hadn't yet found solid ground, but haven't yet landed in the new. Those moments, those in-between moments, was when I had to remind myself that growth is messy and that progress is not linear. And just because I couldn't see the full picture yet didn't mean that it wasn't coming together. It's about having faith. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is this. The space that you're creating is not empty. It's full of possibility, and it's a blank canvas ready for something better to take shape. But here's the catch. You have to stay in the discomfort long enough to let that possibility unfold. So what does that look like in practice? It looks like showing up for the small daily actions that align with your vision, even if you're not sure that they're making a difference. It looks like reminding yourself that this is the in-between. It's part of the process. It looks like choosing faith over fear again and again and again. Trusting the process isn't about blind optimism, though. It's about active participation. It's about co-creating with God. So here are a few ways that you can start leaning into this step. One is to create a daily ritual of alignment. Every morning, I want you to set aside time to focus on small actions that align with the life that you're creating. Maybe it's journaling, meditating, or setting an intention for how you want to show up. These small, consistent actions are like breadcrumbs, but they lead you forward one step at a time. Remind yourself of the bigger picture. When doubt comes in, take a moment to step back and look at how far you've come. Celebrate the fact that you've already let go of what's not working, and that's huge. So trust that the steps that you're taking now are part of a larger process that is still unfolding. Next, I would find an anchor. In moments of uncertainty, it's helpful to have something that grounds you, a mantra, a prayer, even a quote that reminds you to trust. One of my favorites is, this is the in-between. It's part of the process. Write it down. Whatever you come up with, whatever works for you, write it down. Put it somewhere that you can see often and repeat it to yourself whenever you need reassurance. Next, I want you to surround yourself with support. Trusting the process does not mean you have to do it alone. Share your journey with people who uplift you and encourage you. Whether it's a close friend, a mentor, or a community like this one, you can go ahead and subscribe down below. But having others remind you of your strength can make all the difference. Trusting the process is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, you'll keep running back to what's familiar, what feels safe, even if it's not what you truly want. Think of it this way. When a seed is planted, there's a period of time when nothing seems to be happening. You water it, you tend to the soil, but you don't see any visible growth. It's easy to think, this isn't working, and then give up. But beneath the surface, the seed is taking root. It's preparing to grow into something incredible. Your journey is the same. The space to create it is where the roots of your transformation are taking place. So trust that the work that you're doing now, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem, is laying the foundation for something better. I want to invite you to take a moment and think about the space that you're in right now. Are you in the in-between? Have you let go of something old but haven't received something new? If you're feeling lost, know that it's okay. The in-between is uncomfortable, but it's also where the magic happens. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is part of the process. Trust that the space that you're creating is not empty. It's making room for something better. Now, letting go isn't easy, but it's worth it. When you release the old, when you rewrite your stories, create space, and trust the process, you're not just changing your life, you're stepping into the person you were always meant to be. So if this helped you in any way, I would love to hear what you're letting go of in the comments. And if you're ready to take this journey of transformation, hit subscribe and click the like button. The best is yet to come. Remember, the courage to let go is the key to stepping into the life you were made for. Let's do this.